people can kind of chase the shiny object and think, the vacation markets are where they're going to get big rents and where the Airbnb community is the most attractive to guests. I would say that the utilitarian market of an Illinois, where we focus, where we are, Kirby is about 6 miles from the only naval training base in the United States. So you have to find that your naval training base, right? That's going to give you that base of customers that is going to consistently fill your units, and wherever that is in the country, you have Michigan City the Valparaiso area. You've got a lot of properties down there. There's a great draw down there. Actually, one of my biggest clients and good friend, his sister has 4 or 5 down there, and she does incredibly well. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Smaller homes, right? And they're, she manages them herself, and they do well, but you just have to find whatever that key market driver is for you in that area. And honestly, it's limited competition too, to a degree. If you go into a Sarasota, there's a lot of competition here. You have to be on your game, and you have to price it right, and you have to offer the right features. And it's not as easy as just putting a property on Airbnb and saying, "Hey, everybody, come get it." Right?
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than that. So Cape Coral, we looked at the Airbnb market down there and said there's a little bit less competition than there is in other meccas of vacationing in Florida. Right? It's not a Naples or a Fort Lauderdale or a Miami or a Tampa or even a Sarasota. But people still want to go there, and it's a price point vacation that they can go to with their family and still enjoy a beach 30 minutes away. So, so that's what the draw was for us there. But I would just say start small. Don't buy the $2 million house in the Smokies, right? Go with something that's going to provide the returns that are going to be consistent and steady.
Yeah.
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 Great advice.
Yeah.
Shannon, from your perspective?
I think just watching my dad these past 18 or 15 years building his business, I think he's been really good at sticking to what he knows too, but then growing off of that. I think it's interesting. He started in a market like Waukegan, where my mom grew up, and they knew that market so well. And then they switched to another market close by where they knew it was a market that people would be attracted to. They were familiar with the area. And I think just taking those stepping stones and growing with that, he's been very, very successful at it. And another thing in the Airbnb market specifically is we get so many repeat guests every year where they're coming every summer and they want to stay for 3 to 4 months at a time. So seeing that growth over time has been very interesting, because we just keep getting people coming back to our units, and we're able to, even if it's not the same house, we're able to provide something else to them because we have such a large portion of the Airbnbs in those specific markets that we're in. So I think that's also added to the success. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
We call those the reverse snowbirds.
in Illinois in the summer.
Yeah. The reverse snowbirds. So they come from Florida, they come visit family in Illinois, and
nice.
They reverse snowbird. They own in Florida, they don't in Illinois. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Then capture the real snowbirds on the other side of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and to both your points about focus, it's funny because I've been doing this since 2011, so very similar time frame, and almost to a person, I could show the level of success that they've had with the level of focus or non-shiny object syndrome that they have. There's all kinds of people I know that one day they're doing crypto, the next day they're doing flips, then they're doing some day trading scheme, and there's never any traction. in that, but what you're talking about and what you've done, and obviously like Shannon, you mentioned, you build on what you know, and it'll evolve over time. But to stay focused on your bread and butter, there's so much to be said about that, and knowing your market, and improving little iterations over time. And I love that advice, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm curious from your guys' standpoint as family members. There's a lot of people listening that would like to get their kids involved with their business, myself included. My oldest is 7, so not quite there yet, but someday I'm hoping that my kids will be interested in this as well. We drag them along, and they'll pitch in here and there, especially on property setups. But what advice would each of you have from very different perspectives on the right way to get your family involved, and how to do that successfully without it turning into uncomfortable Thanksgiving meals?
Good way to put it. So, from my standpoint, I set boundaries on what I want to be involved with when it comes to working with family, right? So, Shannon and my son Will have been involved in some of the Airbnbs, and they've done flips within the business. So I bought a property. I've said, here are the contractors to use, and you go manage the project and go try and go sell it. And my oldest daughter, who's a resident at IU and for emergency medicine, she did one of these as well. So they learned the business a little bit from the construction and flip standpoint that way. But I try to stay out of that, right? And just let them learn from the mistakes on it, which is how I did it. My wife and I have also provided them with some property as well, where they borrowed some money from us in order we finance some of it as well to have them own a property and understand what it's all about to run it and see the financials and all that kind of good stuff. So I think that experience is very valuable once you understand what it means to own some property. So, but long term for me, I think it's important just to not necessarily want to work with my kids, but more divide the tasks that you're going to do and let them do what they're going to do, like Airbnb setups and a flip here or there, and then I work on what I'm going to work on in the business, so that Thanksgiving is great, and everybody enjoys it, right? So
Yeah.
But it's been great. I've enjoyed it. They both have their own careers. The two that are more active in the company and setting up Airbnbs and doing their thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Good advice, Dad.
Yeah.
I think for me, my parents have always just been very adamant about the idea that family's first, even if you're working together, and there can always be stress points in any job that you have, but working with family, you can have certain stress points or certain things that happen in the day that you didn't expect. But it's always just having that perspective that you're family first before you're working together. And going off of what my dad said too, I think he's been very good at not, I don't know if compartmentalizing is the right word, but just allowing us to do our own thing and like take control in a specific aspect, and like look to us for advice too. Because at the end of the day, like in general, when you're hiring a team or growing a team, you're not just like hiring them to tell them what to do. You're looking to them for advice too. And I think he's been very, very good at that. Just over time, that's allowed us to get better at what we do for the business as well. So yeah, I think on the other end of things, I think he has higher expectations for me sometimes than he would for others.
Always.
But it's just allowed me to kind of push myself too and become better at what I do. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it's working if you're choosing to work in the business, since you don't have to be. You've got a full time job as well. So, and I think finance is where it unravels for a lot of families. Are you guys clear on how that all is set up and what the expectation is, and how it works in terms of compensation for the roles and all that?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We, uh, you know, because it's a secondary role for Shannon and Will to help set up the Airbnbs and do that piece of it. It's actually we're all in it together and building something that someday they'll inherit some of this, because I feel like selling real estate is not the best way to go. It's something that you can hand down to the next generation. So it's they're doing this for themselves as well, and everybody understands that. So it's but finances is something that can make it unravel if you don't have that clear path of where everything is going at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and kind of as an offshoot to that point too. Once you get to a point, I think most people listening to this would envy your position at this point, Bill. Like you've kind of achieved what most people would have set out to be or set out to achieve, and they would imagine being down in Siesta Key right now on the beach instead of working at a property. So, how do you manage your goals? How do you stay motivated? How do you set goals from here? Because you're past the point of financial freedom, and
sure.
so what does that look like for you?
You know, I talk about that a lot with my wife Roseanne, because I say I do have to take my foot off the gas, and I have in a lot of ways, because I used to have maybe 5 or 10 or 15 projects going at one time, and doing the construction management of those, which I believe is one of the biggest components of saving money and creating the equity in the project, is something that I try to keep a good hand on. I backed off from that, and now we're just focusing on build from the ground up developments, townhome communities that will be Airbnb communities or long-term rental type of projects. So it'll be less work, fewer projects is the goal. And yeah, I am vacationing way more than I ever thought I would at this point in my life. So it's fun. Uh,
Yeah,
but but I still have to work. I mean, I'm just not the type of person that can just lay on the beach all the time or go play golf all the time. I enjoy what I do, and if you can enjoy it, why not keep doing it? It keeps you young.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that makes sense. If it doesn't seem like work, then
no.
why not do it? What's so the townhome communities you're doing? How does that work? Where are you building and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So in Libertyville, we own a 1.5 acre parcel. It's all Airbnbs that are connected, 5 in a row. That we're in the planning process to tear all those down and build from the ground up a more dense offering of Airbnbs that'll be it'll be a great investment and more cash flow, and so that's the idea. And then we're under contract for another parcel in Libertyville as well to do the same thing. And we own a piece of land down in Sarasota that we're going to look to do the same thing at as well. Build 24 townhomes, furnished rental type of community. About a mile from the beach, and so it's
Wow.
those are exciting. So
Yeah, that's cool. How many units are you getting on the Libertyville lots?
so it goes through what's called a planned urban development process. There are ways to calculate it based on the zoning of it. And then there are ways to increase that density based on providing affordable units within that same community. So that's what we're doing. And we're targeting 20 units at one location and 18 to 25 at the other location. So I'm on the
Okay.
board of a nonprofit that we focus on providing affordable um, affordable housing units throughout Lake County. And so one of the things that I'm focused on with these developments is making sure that they're providing those pieces to seniors or whoever that need affordable units. It's not a lot of the units, but it's some of the units, so that teachers or firemen or restaurant staff can live in the community where they work.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you get higher density by setting aside some of those to be affordable units that you'll rent long term, and then the rest you can do short term rentals on.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly
Okay.
right. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of multi unit short term rentals. The net cash flow just it's hard to match. So
It is.
I can imagine in a key area like that, a nice suburb with local draws, having 20 on the same, not all of them are going to be short-term rentals, but 20 units total, that could turn in some really nice cash flow.
Well, and when they're all the same unit, then the occupancy opportunities explode, right? Because then you're not just booking somebody at one unit. It's kind of like a hotel,
Yeah.
but it's an Airbnb type of community. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
And we do really well with the super listings in the summer as well, where you
I've
list
seen that.
multiple
Yeah.
units together. Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
you could have some really interesting super units there,
Yeah.
whole wedding parties
Right.
and, family reunions and stuff like that.
Yep.
That'd be
We've done that
interesting.
actually in the on the block of them that we own right now.
Mm,
Where they've taken 3 or 4 of them in a row. It's kind of cool. My
yeah.
daughter actually did that for her wedding. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.